Spiderhead operates as a highly modern correctional facility, resembling more of a luxurious hotel. Rooted in science, its frame is a venture to improve society. Inmates here experience a more lenient lifestyle, with the freedom to take walks, socialize, and earn sentence reductions and rewards. However, this seemingly idyllic environment comes with a cost. Spiderhead conducts medical experiments, some of which are not without risk. While participation is voluntary, those involved may face potentially harmful trials. Ray, one of the inmates, undergoes an experiment where a substance is injected into his bloodstream, inducing laughter regardless of the stimuli presented, be it jokes or grim facts. The routine at Spiderhead continues, with inmates awoken by announcements for participation in experiments. Jeff, prompted by Steve, willingly agrees to try the untested N40 compound, alongside another drug designed to enhance cognitive functions. This allows Jeff to articulate his experiences with remarkable clarity, down to the smallest details. Upon returning to the Spiderhead compound, Jeff shares details of his walk with Lizzie, although he struggles to articulate everything due to a side effect of the vocabulary-enhancing substance, leaving him able to say only a few words. What he does recall vividly is the overwhelming feelings of love and admiration evoked by everything around him during the experiment, whether it was flowers or industrial pipes. Later, reflecting in bed, Jeff remembers how he landed in prison after an ill-fated joyride under the influence. The N40 trials, now dubbed Cupid, continue with Jeff joined by Heather, a spontaneous woman who quickly changes her mind about her partner after the drug takes effect. Their conversation is fleeting before they succumb to intimacy, disregarding the surveillance. The substance effectively breaks down their inhibitions, leading to a professed love for each other, much to the delight of the overseeing Steve, who instructs close observation of the subject's post-effects. Afterwards, Jeff and Heather feel uncomfortable, opting not to discuss their encounter. Jeff maintains his bond with Lizzie, withholding the experiment's details, and avoids Heather. The following day, Jeff receives a double dose of Cupid, but instead of Heather, an older woman is present, triggering a repulsive reaction from the sober Jeff. Once the substance enters his bloodstream, Jeff finds himself drawn to the older woman, engaging in affectionate behavior. Following this, Jeff feels uncomfortable working with Lizzie in the kitchen and asks to be relocated. Steve then brings Jeff to the laboratory, where he witnesses both of his previous partners. Given the option to choose which girl will receive a substance inducing fear and pain, Jeff finds himself indifferent towards both and refuses to harm them, leading to the cancellation of the experiment. With a right to another Friday walk, Jeff attempts to reach out to his girlfriend from the night of the accident, but only reaches her voicemail. Later, he spends time with Lizzie, planning a Christmas surprise. During another laboratory session, Jeff encounters Rogan, a fellow inmate. Remembering his recent experiences, Jeff refuses the experiment, leading to both men's release. Reflecting on the situation, Jeff realizes they were potential partners for one of the female inmates, confirmed when he confronts Steve and sees Heather present. Steve dismisses Jeff's complaints, reminding him of the privilege of being in Spiderhead and the alternative of transfer to a standard prison, albeit with no chance of early release. Understanding the implicit warning, Jeff remains composed in the presence of Rogan, without any outbursts. Steve grants Mark a weekend break, encouraging him to enjoy his time off the island. Meanwhile, Steve himself decides to experience the effects of Cupid firsthand. Despite Jeff's reservations, Steve insists on administering Darkenflox to the girls, citing committee demands for experimental purity. Jeff, reluctant but mindful of the privileges he enjoys by cooperating, reluctantly agrees to administer Darkenflox to Heather. As Heather panics and cries, Jeff's comments during the experiment lack any hint of romantic sentiment. However, an unexpected error occurs, causing Heather to lose control and free herself from the torment induced by Darkenflox. While Steve and Mark attend to Heather, Jeff notices the supervisor's misplaced keys and discovers incriminating evidence in a notebook, including records of upcoming experiments and a lottery ticket with matching numbers to the drug names. Seizing the opportunity, Jeff locks the safe and discreetly returns the keys to prevent Steve from discovering the breach. Steve, aware of the potential fallout, warns Mark about the consequences of Heather's situation, threatening repercussions for anyone involved in the experiment's failure. Lizzie participates in the experiments for the first time, undergoing Darkenflox as her initial trial. Afterwards, she confides in Jeff, expressing uncertainty about whether Spiderhead is truly better than a conventional prison with stricter regulations. In return, Jeff reveals to Lizzie the tragic truth about the night of the accident, confessing that his beloved girlfriend was also in the car and did not survive, driving his willingness to undergo the trials as a form of penance. Their heartfelt conversation deepens their bond, leading them to spend the night together. Steve, observing their closeness, sees an opportunity to exploit their relationship for his own ends. When Jeff returns for the next experiment, he's faced with the ultimatum of administering Darkenflox to Lizzie or leaving Spiderhead. Jeff initially refuses, but the doctor offers him a chance to delay the decision until morning. When Jeff encounters the mysterious young man again, armed with Lizzie's personal file, he discovers that the crime for which she's incarcerated is so terrifying to her that even darkened flocks cannot worsen her suffering. Steve, delighted by Jeff's attempt to adjust the dosage scale, soon realizes that Jeff intends to experiment on him, not Lizzie. Mark, realizing he's been manipulated by Steve, decides to rectify the situation and hands the remote control to Jeff. With guidance from Steve, Jeff persuades him to open the main exit so he and Lizzie can escape. However, Steve seizes the remote control and administers the maximum dose of darkened flocks to Lizzie, causing her intense suffering. Despite Steve's attempt to stop them, the couple manages to free themselves from the effects of the medication and flee the laboratory. As Steve announces over the loudspeaker the consequences of their escape, a manhunt ensues with hardened criminals, including Rogan, targeting Jeff and Lizzie. Steve attempts to escape with the remaining medication in a small plane, but as police boats approach Spiderhead, his shattered remote control leads to a massive injection of the drugs into his bloodstream, inducing admiration and causing him to crash the plane onto a rocky island. Meanwhile, Jeff and Lizzie hijack a boat and sail away before the police arrive. Although free, they regret that Steve didn't invent a substance for self-forgiveness. And so the movie concludes with the young couple sailing off into the distance, happy and finally liberated. Make sure to subscribe for more.